Hello and welcome to Model Dad's first quick tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how I apply MiG pigments to weathered tracks. This is relatively straightforward. All you'll need is your Mini with the tracks. I've painted mine gunmetal here, some of MiG Track Brown P414 pigment, some pigment fixer, some clean water, somewhere a well that you can put your pigment in with your water, an old brush, and this technique I pinched from the Frequently Asked Questions Pigments DVD from MiG. So let's have a quick look how I do it. Okay, so I've filled up one of my wells with quite a bit of water, and I'm just going to add a little bit of pigment. This is really quite intense stuff. Give it a bit of a stir, and you see it's really like making a wash, really. In it goes. I'll just get rid of all that. The pigment is really very dense, so you don't need very much, I don't think, for this, and I suppose it's better to start off with smaller amounts rather than just whack a whole load on. So give it a stir. You can see it ends up with quite a rich mix. I'll try that. So reaching for my Mini, get that on, try it out on a bit of the underneath. Just wash it in like you would do. You can see it just going in there, running in nicely, so I just run it around. Making sure I get it in underneath as well, get into all the grooves. Be quite generous with it because it is like a wash. You can see it's going in into all those nooks and crannies. Quick spin it around. Don't worry about it pooling. I quite like the effect. Running it round, put it into underneath this section here. And I guess the benefit of using the water is that if you don't like what you've done, whilst you won't be able to rub it all off, you will be able to get rid of most. You'll be able to restore some of it. Whereas if you use the fixative to blend it, it will fix once it dries. So you've got a little bit few options here. I'll just go around the back there. You can see I've left a large chunk of flash on. Doesn't really make any difference. I'll stick that in there. Run it around again. I've overspilled a little bit, but I think that's kind of cool. Alright, I'll leave it to dry. So I'm just going to go run through that again because the last time it wasn't really that clear what was going where. So you can see here underneath the tracks, I'm just going to run this mixture in like a wash. Very generously, letting it run into all the grooves and just run it through. You can probably hear the family in the background.
See you in a couple of weeks.
See you in a couple of weeks. So we've got that running right round. You can see I've spilt some on the undercarriage there, but it doesn't really matter. Run it round, turn it over, run it into there. You can see if I do one quite heavy, you'll see the pigmentation going in. If I go here, I'll run it around the top. In it goes, and we'll just wrap it into there. There you go. Making sure we give it all an even coat. You don't want any other bits, some bits will shine through. Get all those treads and tracks. Okay, that's one heavy one, one light one, and we'll do the fronts there. And we'll see how it comes out. Okay, with it dry, this is how the final effect looks. You can see I've done a before and after shot here. On the left you've got what the tracks would look like with a basic gunmetal. On the right you've got the application of the pigment with water after it's dried. You could, if you wanted to at this stage, just wet your thumb and drag it along the tracks to highlight more of the gunmetal, but I'm happy with the effect here. The next stage really is just to apply the pigment fixer into the pigment. You want to try and avoid tidal marks with this. If you use a large quantity of pigment fixer, you'll find that you get a tidal mark on there and it might wash away some of the pigment. I tend to just dampen the brush with it and lay it on, which I'll show you how to do in a moment, or alternatively use an airbrush if you've got one. Okay, so I've got my bottle of pigment fixer here. I'm just wetting my brush slightly, and you can see then that when I apply it to the pigment, I'm just going to gently dab it in to the spaces that I'm going to be working with. So if we zoom in on this bit so you can just see it. So you can see here I started to apply the pigment fixer. I'm just going to literally dampen the brush and working from the grooves, just dab a tiny amount, and then you can see the capillary action just spreads the pigment fixer across the areas of the tiles, and it just bleeds through, fixing that pigment with a minimum of fuss really. And this way you ensure that your pigments all stay in place and are not lost on the final piece. So I'll go up here and just do the same with these. You do need to apply the pigment fixer, because if you don't, obviously with the handling that figures get on the table, it will all just disappear, and it is very messy. So you can see really straightforward, just dabbing it in very carefully on these tracks, and that's what you need to do. We've got some finished work here, but it's not quite the tank tracks. Do you want to take that away? Yeah? What do you think of those tank tracks now?
Good.
Yeah? Do you like the way it's sort of reddy brown in there, makes them look a bit old?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, aren't they? Job's a good one.
Yeah.